You can just announce the last name.
It's on the record for the Ricky case, file number 23-145.
Right, here we are for our next review in this file. May I have the names of our participants, please?
Lee Heiss, lawyer guardian ad litem, and my client Xander is here today.
Ms. Sasha Thomas, counsel for the department.
Eva Kopis, child welfare specialist with MDHHS.
Michael McFarland, representing mother. Please introduce yourself.
Monica Kerwicki.
Okay, great. Ms. Heiss, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. I was able to visit with these children in person. I visited Xander while he was at a visit with his mother and observed that at the library. And I visited with the older child, Jaden, by Zoom. On November 3rd. So the oldest child wants to remain in counseling about her issues, and she's at her dad's house. She's a teenager. Nothing is perfect and rosy. She wants to continue to stay with her father. There's a custody hearing coming up in early January, and somewhere I think in the court report it says that even if dad were to get custody without visits to mom, which is what the child wants, that mom would object. So that custody case isn't going to solve and reduce the risk for that older child. The younger child indicates that he's been visiting, he's been compliant. Mom's gone to football games and to practices and all kinds of stuff. Mom watches him do his homework. I don't know that she's very able to participate, but the visits moved to mom's house, and he wants you to know that he's not ready to go to that house yet, that he intends to continue in progressing from the risk that brought him into care, but that the visits at the house are setting him back, and he's not ready for unsupervised. So I think we've talked through visits like at physical therapy or at football. I consider those to be, they're not supervised, but they're in the community so that there's witnesses and there's certain element of security, practices, games, that kind of stuff. But if the visit is in the house, I would ask that it be supervised. He's just been through this before. He's been removed and replaced, and the way it went before, he has experience, and he's not feeling ready for it. I said to him, let's get your counselor in here on our team to talk about what you do and don't want. He relates that his counselor is this person, I think maybe Orchards, that is both, it's a family program, it's not a counselor. So I'm going to encourage us to find a counselor, if I'm accurate on that he doesn't have a personal counselor that isn't also have a duty to mom. So that I can know whether his request that he doesn't want it unsupervised and he doesn't want to visit at mom's house, whether that's reasonable, because he's not perfect either. He's had some setbacks behaviorally. He's here today with his placement maternal grandmother, and he's been in some trouble. He's done several things that any parent would give him a consequence. So he has had everything removed from his room except his bed, his radio, his phone, his alarm clock, something like that. I mean, even his dresser, I think, has been taken out. And he still wants to be there. He thinks that's a generally reasonable response because of what he did threatened his own safety. He has almost perfect attendance at school, and he's doing just fine at school, but he's got those other issues. I've talked to the caseworker about getting him into MYOI. He'll turn 14 this Friday. He's gonna go into baseball pretty soon, and let's see. You know, I just wanna say one thing so all these siblings were removed from mother. Most of them had another parent to go to. Elizabeth is a child who went with her mother through a custody order. Both mothers, Elizabeth's two parents, went to friend of the court and stipulated so that Elizabeth is unsupervised, I think every other weekend, if not more. I think every weekend of the month except one with mother. And I just generally, I'd like, first of all, Xander to have time with just his mother to work on that bond, but also, I don't know how how we have one kid basically reunified. Anyway, it was under a safety plan, in my understanding, that wasn't gonna happen if we protected Elizabeth that way. Okay, so anyway, Jaden and Xander their needs are being met in their current placements, and I would ask you to schedule another review period. Thank you.
On testimony today?
Thank you. I now call Ms. Kokas to the stand.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Ms. Kokas, you provided a court report for today's hearing, correct?
Yes.
And you have a cover page that indicates there are a few attachments, including the court report, the case service plan, the motion order for the nolle pros for Ms. Karucki, the certificate of completion for ER management, the orchards parent education report, the psych evaluation, an earnings statement, the progress report, and then a prevention plan from Highfields. Is there anything else that has been circulated since you've submitted this report, or anything else that needs to be updated or modified in the report?
In the report, I do not have a signed case service plan. However, I have gotten it signed by mom. We did have an opportunity to discuss the service plan and review it, and she did sign it. It just was not in time for the submission of the court report.
Can anybody approach the witness?
Right.
Ms. Kokas, I've handed you a document. Is that the signed case service plan that you just testified to?
Yes.
Thank you. And is it your request that the court accept that as a case service plan in lieu of the one that is attached to your court report?
Yes.
Thank you. Are there any updates or modifications that you're aware of?
No.
Okay. And at this time, as relates to the two children that are under this court's jurisdiction, is there still a risk of harm if they were to be returned to Ms. Karucki's care and custody today?
Yes.
And can you please briefly explain what that risk of harm is?
Risk of harm would be additional abuse and neglect. Mother is working towards the goals that brought the kids into care. She has made significant progress, but there is still, specifically with mental health and her parenting education, there's still improvement, and there's still services to be absorbed.
And during this review period, the psychological evaluation came back, correct?
Yes.
And as it relates to those recommendations, have you been able to make any referrals to comply with those recommendations, or have those services sort of already been in place?
Most of mother services were already in place. We've actually had to put very few in place. Mom's been very proactive about her services. But I did get confirmation that she provided a copy to her therapist at Parkside. Her psychological didn't necessarily recommend a specific other training, but more of specific goals to work on. And so I gave a copy of mom to provide that to her therapist, which she has.
And the oldest child remains with a non-respondent parent, and then the younger child with relative placement, correct?
Yes.
And are they able to see each other at all, the siblings?
They have been able to see each other. So far, there's been no concerns with that visitation.
And what are the barriers to reunification? I know that you made a mention some of them in that risk of harm testimony, but can you just briefly outline the barriers?
One of the major barriers of reunification right now is that the children don't want to go home. And so that presents a barrier and causes us to reflect onto our treatment plan to ensure that we're getting the adequate services. With mom's mental health and the progress she's made, that is the biggest barrier, is mental health. And we just need more time to see that she's adjusting well, that she is following through my medication reviews, and that she's rectifying those barriers.
And overall, how would you describe her level of compliance with and benefit from her case service plan?
Overall, I would say mother is in partial compliance. Anything that could be completed, housing assessment, proof of income, she's provided all of those to me. I have documentation of her services. Again, the mental health component, more long-term, seeing the, her in therapy and how it's progressing.
So I mean, it sounds like she's in full compliance, but rather that the goals or each element of the case service plan is still sort of in progress.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And as it relates to the children, do they have any outstanding needs or concerns that the department is assisting with at this time?
Xander receives therapy services through Highfields. It's my
Not
understanding.
use children's names.
Oh, I apologize. Thank you. XK is in therapy, individual therapy. He has been with his therapist since prior to this case opening. It was a service that was already in place. My understanding of that therapy is that it does come in two components. The main part is the therapeutic process and meeting with the child, and the second half is then a parent session that kind of reviews what was taught in that lesson, what did they work on, how can mom improve, things of that nature. And then Jaden, we referred Jaden to Catholic Charities for therapy, and then Jaden picked a different provider, Adrian Counseling and Psychiatric Clinic. That therapist is on vacation, and I've attempted to communicate with the office and have not.
Just a reminder for initials for the youth. But other than that, is there anything else you'd like to bring to the court's attention?
No.
Okay. This time, Your Honor, I would move to admit the court report and the attachments.
Is that the signed court report up there?
I have it, yes, I've replaced it.
Yep. No objection?
Oh, no, I don't have it. That was the other case. Thanks. All right, I now have a signed case service plan. Any objections, Ms. Heiss?
No, thank you.
Very good. They are received all of the exhibits in the court report. Cross-examination?
Yes, isn't the young boy, isn't he independent counseling? Yeah, I think it's Hilltop.
X's, K's in Highfields.
Yeah, okay, well, I didn't get that too good in my memory. Okay, is that correct though?
Yes.
Okay, so it is separate. I know the guardian ad litem had expressed something in her discussion, but he is counseling independently from his mother, correct?
Yes, so the program is designed to be separate. So there's a parent session which works on something, but then the main goal is the therapeutic process with XK.
Okay, and it appears as though with mom in full compliance, we're just waiting to see if she can still progress and maintain her mental health level and the medication is properly adjusted. Is that a good read on this?
Yes.
Okay, nothing further. Yes, there is one, sorry. Christmas is coming up. We made any provisions for Christmas, exchange of gifts or visits or anything like that?
We have not had that discussion yet. We've had discussion about expanding visitation, but we haven't fully had that discussion about holidays yet.
No, we're gonna have it pretty soon without Christmas coming up.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. You know, this is a goal of reunification. We have an older child who does not wish to visit. How do we get this child into the same goal of reunification?
It's gonna be for JK, I can't force her to visit. She's given her reasons, and I'm hoping that with therapy, she'll be able to move that forward. I even be open to discussing I talked to mom about doing therapeutic visitation as a possibility. She was open to that. Jaden needs time in therapy to process what she needs, but I just don't know I don't know how to make her.
Okay, so the therapy is directed towards attempting a reunification with the oldest child and mother.
One of her primary goals, which is my reasoning for, besides also confirming that she was in therapy, one of her primary goals is going to be reunification and her relationship with mother.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Ms. Heiss?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. Have you been able to, okay, so is Ms. Kerwicki treating with CMH then for mental health, or where does she get her mental health care from?
She gets therapy from Parkside, and then her medication comes from ProMedica.
Okay, can we find out what the diagnoses are and what the treatment recommendations are so that we can find out if she's participating and how long she has participated potentially successfully with maintaining her treatment through ProMedica?
Okay, I have absolutely no problem with that. I did have a conversation with her therapist, and she seems to be making some progress, but I'll get that more articulated for you, Your Honor.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, any questions based on my questions?
Just one,
Go
I
ahead.
believe my client has signed any releases that you would need to comply with what the judge is requesting.
She has signed all releases.
Thank you.
She's actually very good about that. If I need something signed or signatures, she's pretty on top of things.
Nothing further.
All right, thank you for your testimony. You may return to your seat. Any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. McFarland?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
Ms. Heiss?
No witnesses, thank you.
Okay, comments?
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. I'm sorry for that brief conversation, but I just want to make sure that I was going to articulate the department's position accurately. And at this time, the concerns about, moving parenting time into the home are noted, but we would like the discretion throughout this review period to have unsupervised parenting time, perhaps in the community, so that the dyad could move more naturally. Other than that, I think that Ms. Kuricki is making some good progress on her goals here, and we will continue to monitor the case, and we ask for that 90-day review. Thank you.
Mr. McFarland?
Well, my client is making it easy for me, Your Honor, and that we have full compliance in this case, and she's working towards the goals. And I'm glad to see that the counseling for the children are for reunification. We all understand they want to see that their mother has indeed changed, and I do see that happening. So I expect that we're going to see the same or most likely better at the next report period. And I would also support allowing the agency to permit unsupervised parenting time. Or, sorry, supervised parenting time. But if it needs to be unsupervised, maybe even extend to that if
I think we need to clarify what we mean by unsupervised. I don't necessarily need a professional supervisor, but maybe grandma's with them one visit, or it's in the public, or Hadassah's with them, or we can talk about what it means. I want to do both things, have fun events and work on the relationship, but also work on the child not being ready for isolation and those kinds of things. Thank you.
The court finds that all interested parties were given notice for purposes of today's review hearing. I am glad to see that services are underway. I think there are a couple of unanswered questions, which Ms. Kopis is going to answer for us next time. As far as whether or not Ms. Kuricki is maintaining the treatment that she needs in order to support her parenting education. She makes her way across through and over the barriers that lie in the way of full reunification with her child, including, of course, the potential for injury to the child in the home, and those dynamics around physical discipline and punishment that continue to echo through the comments that I read in the court reports and in the assessments by care providers within the community. That's the dynamic we want to fix. That's not a dynamic we want repeating. That's a cycle we have to break, which seems to be a theme for today. So I look forward to seeing the progress that Ms. Kuricki continues to make in the next report period in her parenting education, in her therapeutic interventions, and examining specifically the recommendations that were identified in the psychological evaluation, as well as the other providers within the community. I appreciate your full buy-in into those services. That's what needs to be happening right now. And so I will say we're going to have another review period. I don't think we need to look at permits, but I think it's going to be time at the next go round. And I would like Ms. Kopis to talk about the options for this family, considering that it would be 6 months in at that point, including guardianship. What kind of arrangements are gonna be happening for parenting time in the other case will be relevant, obviously. Our standards for parenting time and how that works is different than in custody cases. So, for example, in a custody case, a child is not allowed to choose whether or not they want to visit. So ensuring that services are in place, should that become mandated through the custody case, is absolutely imperative. So you may need to talk to Ms. Kerwicki's daughter about looking at therapeutic parenting time now, so that if there is parenting time offered in the custody case, that she's been able to do that in a therapeutic setting before she's simply just ordered to visit. Obviously, I don't know what's gonna happen in that other custody case. I'm not even sure who it's assigned to at this point. But that is a way that our case differs from our custody cases. Obviously, we've had an education on that already with regard to one of the children that was released and is now in unsupervised extended periods of time with this parent. So those are my concerns. I want to see more progress, sustained progress and benefit from parent education, attention to mental health diagnoses and maintenance in the community, therapeutic interventions for the children and monitoring of that in the community. I'm going to leave the parenting time within your discretion, supervised within the community. I think you have a good handle, Ms. Copus, on what's happening with progress. So obviously, we want to get to a place where we have a good plan for this family moving forward. And that's not always going to be easy. So I would encourage you to push where you feel that you can push for the parent and the child to see progress from Ms. Kerwicki and to see the children step up and perhaps take some steps towards deciding what kind of relationship they want to build, what those dynamics look like in the safety of a therapeutic setting. So we'll look at all those issues at our next hearing. In the meantime, the children will remain where they are placed. That is the safest and least restrictive as we look for progress in those areas. The older child will remain with her father, and the younger child still in care will remain with the relative placement. I certainly find reference and satisfaction of your goal of reunification. Thank you. And to you also, Ms. Heiss, for your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you to our advocates as well. And we'll look at a review also on March 12th for this case. Ms. Kerwicki, is the morning or the afternoon better for you?
Anytime after 2 works best.
So how about 3:30 on Tuesday, the 12th of March? Great. All right. So we'll come back at 3:30 on Tuesday, March 12th for our next review. And we will call it a permanency planning hearing since it will be our 6-month mark. Unless there's any questions.